of Vatican City. Pope Francis, originally, Jorge Mario, was the 266th Pope of the Roman Catholic Church, but the first Pope to come from Latin America and from Southern Hemisphere. He was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, on 17th December 1936. His father was Mario Jose Mogorio, who was an accountant, and his mother was Regina Maria Sivori, a committed wife dedicated to raising their 5 children. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, Pope Francis graduated as a chemical technician and then chose the path of the priesthood, entering the diocesan seminary of Villa Devoto in 1958 and becoming a priest on 13th December 1969. On 20th May 1992, he was appointed Bishop of Buenos Aires, and in 1998, he was named the Archbishop of Buenos Aires and was consecrated a cardinal in 2001. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, he was elected the Supreme Pontiff on 13th March 2013. The profound pontificate of Pope Francis touched many minds and hearts. He set a personal connections with individuals and peoples, with a close attention to those in difficulty, giving himself limitlessly, especially to the marginalized. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, he was a pope among the people with an open heart towards everyone. Rich in human cordiality and profoundly sensitive to today's challenges, the late Pope Francis truly shared anxieties and sufferings and hopes of this time of globalization. Confronted with the present-day global inequality and raging wars with their inhuman horrors and innumerable death and destruction, Pope Francis persistently raised his voice, imploring peace and calling for reason and honest negotiation to find possible solutions. The late Holy Father extraordinarily used his purpose to push for action on climate change. He always proclaimed that environmental degradation is a moral issue spurred by greed and unchecked capitalism, which causes human beings to lose sight of relationships that bind them together and to neglect Earth, their common home. Promoting the concept of integral ecology, the late Pope Francis connected sinful actions against the natural world with a common exploitation of impoverished human beings and the abuse of human rights. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, Pope Francis was a pope of the people, a transformative figure, and who embodied a spirit of international solidarity, has left behind an extensive diplomatic network across the world. Uganda was blessed to be one of the 68 countries the late Pope Francis visited in the 12 years of his pontificate, recalling that he never even visited his home country of Argentina while he was a pope. These visits offered Pope Francis and the opportunity to call for justice, peace, inclusion, and love for the entire human family. Many of Pope Francis's visits were undertaken as pilgrimages of peace and reconciliation in an open invitation to politicians to overcome partisan interests and push forward processes for the common good of their people. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, particularly while he was in Uganda in November 2015 to celebrate with us the Diamond Jubilee of canonization of the Uganda matters, Pope Francis encouraged us to reach out to those in need, to cooperate with others for the common good, and to build a more just society which promotes human dignity, defends God's gift of life, and protects the wonders of nature. That Honorable Speaker, in a more concrete way, the late Pope Francis greatly contributed to the realization of the 2040 Agenda vision of transforming our country into a modern and prosperous nation. This was achieved through social welfare interventions and development projects of the Catholic Church, which the Pope leads. That Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, the Catholic Church has been collaborating with the government on various projects all over the country in quality education, holistic health and sustainable agriculture, among others. Right Honorable Speaker and members, on a more personal level, I had the opportunity of meeting left a lasting imprint on me, and I believe many of you, including you, Right Honorable Speaker. In these moments, what always shocked me most His Holiness encouraged us to remain faithful to God's design in the generation and rearing of new lives. Pope Francis said marriage and conjugal love are by their nature ordained toward the procreation and education of children. He therefore implored us to reinforce the correct policies, laws, and practices on regulation of birth through natural, not artificial methods of family planning. He as well reminded us of the duty and responsibility of raising our children to reflect the image and likeness of God in which they are created. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, in February 2025, Pope Francis was hospitalized for several weeks that developed into double pneumonia. He was discharged in late March and subsequently made several public appearances, but sadly died on Easter Monday of 2025 of cerebral stroke and cardiocirculatory collapse. Pope Francis has left behind a towering legacy for individuals and leaders to emulate. Some key valuable lessons from his life and teachings include: 1. Humility, simplicity. Pope Francis emphasized the importance of humility and simplicity in leadership, encouraging leaders to act with humility and avoid seeking to elevate themselves above others. On compassion and empathy, he demonstrated genuine care and undertaking for individuals from all walks of life, fostering trust and connections with others. He was always on the side of the discarded, of those no one looked upon. On social justice and advocacy, Pope Francis championed the poverty alleviation, environmental stewardship, and human rights, urging world leaders to prioritize the poor and the vulnerable. On inclusivity and unity, he sought to break down barriers and promote unity, highlighting common values and shared humanity. On selflessness, on sacrifice and servant leadership, the Pope Francis emphasized the importance of self-sacrifice and a humble service in a good leadership, asking leaders to act with humility and respect towards others. On forgiveness, Right Honorable Speaker and members, and reconciliation, he advocated for forgiveness and reconciliation as tools for healing and peace building. Right Honorable Speaker, on environmental stewardship, Pope Francis highlighted the need to address climate change and promote sustainable practices. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues, I would like to thank the Honorable Speaker for according this remarkable and admirable leader a special recognition in his honor through the consideration of this motion before the House today. That Honorable Speaker, as I end, I want to thank you and your delegation for having attended the burial of the Holy Father. The NRM government, under the wise leadership and able leadership of His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, wishes to extend its profound sympathies to the Catholic Church and the Christian family and all the people of Uganda. May the Almighty God grant his soul eternal rest. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for that tribute, and that speaks all about the Pope, his humility, the simplicity, the unity preached, the love for the poor, and the peace his last words were peace, peace be with you. A leader of opposition. Leader of opposition will second the motion, and we will have an independent. Then,
Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues, I rise to second the motion and to pay tribute to Pope Francis, an exemplary religious leader who significantly contributed to the reshaping of the global moral compass. His legacy will be remembered not only within the Catholic Church, but also around the world by those who cherish truth, justice, and the inherent dignity of every human being. Pope Francis was more than a religious leader. He was a voice of reason and compassion in a world increasingly torn by division, inequality, and greed. He championed social justice, urged governments to prioritize the poor, and advocated against global systems that perpetuate suffering. His encyclical Laudato Si reminded us all who crossed the boundaries of faith, politics, and ideology. He reached out to Muslims, Jews, and people of no faith. If we are to move forward as a country, we must begin by seeing one another not through the and a place in our shared future. Pope Francis spoke to presidents, prisoners, refugees, and the forgotten with the same humility. Perhaps what made him truly revolutionary was his simplicity. He rejected the glorification of titles and preferred to be called just Francis. In a world where power often corrupts, he embodied the opposite. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues, as you will recall, Pope Francis visited Uganda in 2015 and brought with him messages that were both timely and deeply powerful. Speaking with clarity and urgency, he reminded our leaders that the development of a nation depends not only on infrastructure, but more importantly, on upright and honest leaders and citizens who are guided by a spirit of service. His words were not abstract. They were a direct call for action for all of us in public leadership. Honorable colleagues, the legacy of Pope Francis challenges us to reflect deeply on the kind of leadership we offer this country. It must never be about position, entitlement, or self-preservation. True leadership, as he demonstrated, is about serving the people with humility, dignity, and humanity. He advocated for justice, transparency, and servant leadership. We, as leaders, must reflect seriously on these values today. At a time when our nation is experiencing a painful breakdown in governance, public resources are being looted, and citizens live in fear. That fear is not abstract, but a bitterly lived experience. Ugandans are being arbitrarily arrested, tortured, and detained without trial for days, some months. Security forces are used to silence dissent, and citizens speak quietly about issues that should be debated openly. Pope Francis's message on such situations was very clear. The dignity of every human being must be upheld, and no government should rule through fear. To the youth, he urged them not to lose hope and not to be discouraged. In today's Uganda, where the youth face unemployment, repression, and hopelessness, his message is more urgent than ever. He wanted young people to become change makers, not victims of a broken system. The Pope's humility stands in stark contrast to the emergence of a new class of untouchables in Uganda. These individuals conceal their abuse of power behind their titles, and they trample on the rights of ordinary people. In Pope Francis's world, titles are meaningless if they are not accompanied by service. Today, titles have increasingly become shields against accountability. Today, titles have increasingly become shields against accountability. During his visit to Nalukolongo, Pope Francis met the elderly and the disabled. He said, "It is in caring for the weakest members of society that we show our true strength. It is therefore a tragic irony that while many Ugandans go without health care, clean water, or even hope, their taxes are stolen by a few who occupy various positions of influence in our country. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, Pope Francis's legacy challenges us. It highlights our failures as the political elite and motivates us to strive for improvement. He serves as a reminder that leadership is not about status but about service. Service means standing with the vulnerable, speaking the truth, and living with integrity. As we celebrate his life and legacy, let us pledge to uphold the principles he represented: humility, justice, and compassion. That is the Uganda that Pope Francis would have wanted to see. May the soul of Pope Francis rest in eternal peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable members, as we pay respect to the most respected Holy Pope, we should pay it with respect and dignity. We can talk about politics after, but for now, let's talk about the man of God who was full of humility, simplicity. Tinker.
I want to thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker, to thank the Right Honourable Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Leader of Opposition, for the good submissions about the late, our Holy Father, Francis. Today, Parliament, I want to really thank you so much for giving us a crying hand, shoulder, particularly the Catholic Church, for losing our Holy Father. For us, we move in strength that we got a new Holy Father when we saw the smoke, but for this purpose, the white smoke, for this purpose, I want to state that the Holy Father that I met, I will greatly miss him. When we went to see him last year, when you move in the first gate, you are meeting a serious head of state. When you go to the second gate, you start seeing simplicity. Third gate, you start seeing a man who is trusting in the total protection of God. Then the fourth gate, you see joy and peace prevailing in the environment where he meets his subjects, all the people that he meets. I was very excited to receive his blessing. I was very excited to kiss his ring and to accept. I was very, very excited that at the age of 53, as a Catholic, that's when I was able to meet him, to at least touch the hands of the Pope. It's incredible, but we want to say this leader that we met had special attributes in the world. For instance, I remember there is a time he spoke about blessing the homosexuals. A tirade of attack went against him, including the church, the people he was leading, cardinals, bishops writing letters. But he said, even when I have authority to excommunicate anyone who disagrees with me, I will not call forth against that. You see a leader who understood his responsibility as handed over to him from the reign of St. Peter, the apostle of Jesus, the first pope. And he recognized that he was merely the 266th pope of the world, of the Catholic Church. I was very excited in one of his doings as a pope. He allowed single mothers who would want to return to receiving the Holy Communion to undertake the rituals in return to receiving the Holy Communion. We cannot underlook that aspect, because we have seen the entire world growing with single mothers struggling for years, and I think they needed to struggle with the Lord.
Thank you. Lucy.
What else would I say? I pray that we who had that personal touch with him shall slowly stand the loss and move with the strength of the blessings that we received from him. May the Lord have mercy on his dear servant Francis and receive him on his right hand side.
Thank you, Honorable Lucy, Honorable Musasizi.
Thank you so much.
I'll give all of you, including Aisha.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for giving us this opportunity.
Let's reduce the time so that more members speak.
To honor Pope Francis. I know the name Pope now is not there. Even on his grave, he just put simple mark of Francis. On behalf of the Catholic Chaplaincy, we continue to pray for Pope Francis, that he will rest in peace. Madam Speaker, I have had the rare opportunity to meet Pope Francis over 7 times. Yes, that's the grace of God. And every time we meet him, it's different. And this year in August, I was again looking forward to meeting him. But maybe now we shall meet Pope Leo XIV. Madam Speaker, I just want to bring to your attention that Pope Francis served to the last. He did not allow his sickness pull him down. Actually, in January this year, he took the longest trip to East Timor, Philippines, to go to the people. I watched that Pope visit and I was struck. I thought my faith increased because of what he did. Secondly, he launched the year of Jubilee this year, and he died when it was not complete. But I know it was dear to him. He was buried at St. Mary's Major Basilica. For some reason, every time I am in Rome, this is my favorite place. For the 7 years I would go, I would not leave Rome without visiting that basilica. And I am happy he chose that place as his final resting place. Madam Speaker, Pope Francis was a peacemaker. Those of you who watch the videos, how he kissed the feet of the leaders from South Sudan. And I pray that South Sudan finds peace even when Pope Francis is no more. Recently, when Pope Leo XIV was addressing the cardinals on Saturday, 10th, this is what he had to say about Pope Francis. He said, I continue and follow closely in the footsteps of late Pope Francis. And he called it a precious legacy. Precious legacy, and he said, we must make good use of this legacy. Madam Speaker, if I don't say this about Pope Francis, I would not have done justice to him. Finally, Pope Francis loved children with a passion. The elderly, the disabled. I remember every time we have the private audience, there is a special corner for families with children. Even if you're the president, you will never take that seat as long as you don't have a child. You will not sit on that seat. And it is the front seat where he comes from because he wants to emerge and see children. And when he sees children, you see the genuine smile that beams from his face, the excitement that he has. Several times he has stopped his motorcade just to go and greet children. Several times he has stopped his motorcade to go and say hello to the disabled person. My God, this world will miss Pope Francis. But we are consoled as Catholics that we now have Pope Leo the 14th. For those of you who don't know him, go and study about him.
Thank you.
He's going to be a lot more. And because the Catholic Church relies on the Holy Spirit in the selection of the Pope. We were wrong as human beings in saying we want this, we want that. But the Holy Spirit had already chosen Pope Leo the 14th. And he's taking over from Pope Leo the 13th, who is the promoter of the Catholic social teaching. If you don't know, this is the best document you can read. Go and read. It has everything to do with human rights, justice, democracy. That was promoted by Pope Leo the 13th. And he is going to continue with this legacy. Pope Leo the 14th will continue from where Pope Leo the 13th stopped. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And I greet you, our Pope Nuncio, and the team that has come from Catholic Secretariat. We continue to pray for Pope Francis to rest in peace. Thank you so much.
Honorable Akelo is the Sabbath Crystal in Parliament. I want to introduce Father Rafael Romero Augustine, the Director of Divine Virtue Ashram Center, India. You're most welcome. We have Miss Alijo, the Retreat Coordinator. You're most welcome. We have Mr. Lioj, the Retreat Coordinator. Welcome. We have Miss Anne Makoa, also a Retreat Coordinator from Kenya. We have Miss Margaret Karuga, Coordinator from Kenya. We have Evelyn Arinaitre, Coordinator for Uganda. You're all most welcome, and they are here to listen to the motion when we are paying tribute for the Holy Father. Pardon? Honorable Musasizi.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
We'll reduce the time to 2 minutes, yes.
Right Honorable Speaker, I rise to pay tribute to the late Pope Francis. Madam Speaker, I first saw Pope Francis in 2015 when he visited Uganda, and I want to thank him. He came with blessings of the construction of Namugongo. It is now a beautiful place for the pilgrimage, where I am privileged to have seen my mother for the last 11 years. She has been a walking pilgrim from Kawale Diocese. Madam Speaker, I also had an opportunity to meet Pope Francis on 24th of August 2024. I was part of the delegation which you led and had a private audience with the Pope. Not only a private audience, but also the discussions we had especially on the peace and justice, were quite immense, and we thank him for that. I also had an opportunity to attend the burial of the Pope Francis. What do I pick from this? Simplicity and humility. Even in death, what he prayed for was that his burial be a simple burial. It was the first time I saw a burial where the whole world is in attendance, but everything is done in a simple way. Madam Speaker, I pray that God continues to grant eternal rest to the late Pope Francis.
Thank you. Pope Francis was very passionate about Uganda because of the Uganda matters, and that's why we had a canonization of Uganda matters in the Vatican. Gweri, Ariko. No, I was calling Ariko.
Madam Speaker, I would like to thank you so very much for the opportunity. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, I stand here to second the motion to pay tribute to the late Pope Francis. Madam Speaker, I come from the Holy Family Parish in Soroti Catholic Diocese that is located in Gweri. Madam Speaker, Pope Francis was the first Jesuit priest to be Pope. He was the first Latin American, but he was also the first Pope that had been born and raised outside Europe since the 8th century when we had Pope Gregory III. Madam Speaker, when we talk about Pope Francis, we talk about a Holy Father whose leadership of the Catholic Church was characterized by humility, simplicity, and a break with the tradition of having church leaders at that senior level detached from the flock that they lead. I personally had the privilege of meeting Pope Francis for 5 times when we traveled to the Vatican. Madam Speaker, because of his Jesuit background,
1 second. Give him a minute.
Madam Speaker, Pope Francis chose to lead a simple life. He resided at the Domus Sanctae Martha guest house rather than living in the papal apartments in the Apostolic Palace. That exemplified his desire to remain simple and to show the world that even as you are a great leader, you can still lead a life that touches many people in a simple way. He wore simple vestments rather than the ornamented ones. Pope Francis was also at the center of ensuring full restoration of diplomatic ties between Cuba and the USA. He was instrumental in ensuring that the Chinese Communist Party had its influence in the appointment of bishops regulated so that they no longer dictated who was appointed bishop. As you know, these are tenets of a person who is able to negotiate and bring persons closer into a sense of peace and reconciliation.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Honorable Segona, Honorable Bahati. The altar boy will come last.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for this opportunity, and I want to join colleagues in celebrating the life of the Pope. I want to thank the Prime Minister for bringing this motion, and I want to support her with all my heart. For the record, I am Anglican, and on behalf of the Anglican chaplaincy and my colleagues, I want to join you in paying deep tribute to His Holiness the Pope Francis, who was a global moral compass, the person who would all look at, emulate, study, and have some take-homes. Pope Francis has been described as humble. Even when I wanted to disagree with the Prime Minister that he told her that President Museveni was ruling Uganda very well, with his humility, I am tempted to think it happened. Even when we belong to different denominations, you would look at the Pope and take lessons. He was not self-imposing. One of the causes of the dangers that we experience today is having self-imposing persons, even when they are not as big as they think. I believe if Pope Francis was not here, he would not allow Mukajanga to kill the martyrs. He would not allow my brother Jacob Oboth to bring the bill he has brought today. He would not allow self-imposition.
Honorable Bahati.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to thank you for the opportunity to pay tribute to Pope Francis, a man of God who guided the world for the years that he was a pope. The Bible says that we shall know them by their fruits. And I'm sure that the works of Pope Francis produced good fruits in his time. He was a firm leader who never feared anybody. I want to quote two examples. In the recent times in the war of Ukraine and Russia, he was courageous to stand up and tell the Ukrainian president that it's time to raise a white flag and negotiate. In the elections of the US, he was able to stand up and tell the Americans that we are choosing between two evils, the one against migrants and another one against life. So we want to celebrate his life and want to congratulate the Vatican for choosing and give us a new Pope who will build on the works of St. Francis. At the end of the day, Pope Francis was a holy man who worked so hard to enter heaven. I hope that through his works and belief, all of us will follow his footsteps to working hard to one day to enter heaven. Thank you.
Thank you. Pope Francis indeed was known by his works. Test Affairs. Honorable Mpuga.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to support this motion to pay tribute to Pope Francis, who was not just a pope for the Catholics, but a shepherd to all humanity. Pope Francis had the rare and unique ability to touch all people in different ways. Perhaps it was because of his love for the earth. The leader of opposition mentioned here a document called the Laudato Si, a very important document about our care for our common home, which is the earth. And I often listen to him cry out for the earth as our mother and for the harm that we inflict on it because of our irresponsible use and abuse of natural resources. He saw the earth as an environment for our sustenance, but which, because of our greed, we turned into something that we used for our immediate satisfaction and interests. Pope Francis will be remembered as a pope who was simple and yet profound in the way he thought about set doctrines of the church. I was particularly intrigued and followed his discourses about the Lord's Prayer, which I thought were truly meaningful about our relationship with God and about the relationship of God to people and their sins. It could not be said, as he said, that the Lord or God should not lead us into temptation. But his cry was that from temptations. As the English would say, I would like to conclude with enthusiasm that even though the Pope has died, the Pope lives again. I would like to congratulate the Catholic Church upon the election of Pope Leo XIV, and I hope that they will continue in the path that was set by Pope Francis. God rest his soul in eternal peace.
Thank you, Honorable Mpuga.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Then Aisha.
I would like to join the Prime Minister in secondment of this special motion in remembrance of the Holy Father departed. Right Honorable Speaker, when Pope Francis visited Uganda on 27th, 30th of May, November 2015, his message had three critical issues for our memory. One is remembrance, because the Uganda matters were a major attraction to his coming. He reminded us to remember their cause, the nature of their sacrifice, and what it reminded us as leaders, Catholics, Ugandans, and all duty bearers, family leaders, et al. Secondly, fidelity as a key message left behind. Fidelity to all manner of vocations. I believe that even our own calling as leaders is a vocation. But do we ever reflect to understand the meaning of what we say, what we do in whichever space, and how it reflects on our scope of fidelity as leaders? The laws we make, the views we bear, the way we try to influence society for posterity, for me, is a very critical message. And then lastly, his insistence on prayer. That a living being must be reminded about prayer, because he knew then and now that human beings have a tendency of receding to prayer. May we use his message in that threesome to understand our duty as leaders in this country.
Thank you, Aisha. And then Doctor.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, for the record, I'm the Secretary to the Muslim Parliamentary Caucus. Therefore, on behalf of the Muslim community at Parliament, I join colleagues in celebrating the life of the Pope and paying tribute. I would therefore like to support the motion, and I would like to say that the epitome of the Pope's humility is exhibited at that time, when he was asked by some journalist to talk about himself. He referred to him by his real name, George Bagogorio. I said, who is he? And he said, I'm a sinner. Now, a pope that is known to be most holy, to describe himself as a sinner, he lowered himself, the most common man, to tell people that I'm human just like you are. Indeed, his humility was exemplary, and there was a lot to learn from him. If the Pope were to come back here to Uganda, he would have been most disappointed, because the environment, the way he left it, when he left here, he's been further degraded. Human rights abuse are at the extreme. respect for human dignity is zero, so he would be very, very disappointed. So as we mourn him, we should learn more from him, his humility, his interest to not wanting to amass wealth. He never supported the accumulation of primitive wealth to himself. We shall live to remember him, and I pray that the Catholic community, together with the world as a whole, takes lesson from him. Thank you.
One thing I'm sure and I'm aware that the Pope loved Uganda so much, so much. I had private audience with the Holy Pope 8 times. And the refugee policy in Uganda is what the Pope loved so much. Dr. Lulume.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I thank the Prime Minister for moving this motion and everybody's submission. Right Honorable Speaker, I was humbled when I saw a picture of the Pope bowing down to kiss the shoes, say the feet, but they were putting on shoes.
The feet.
Of the President of South Sudan, the Vice President. If a catechist had to bow down just to fasten the shoelaces, my shoelaces, I would faint. But you just imagine a Pope bowing down to African President and Vice President and kissing their shoes. They would have fainted. But that was very big message for them. I don't know what they derive from that kind of action. But I believe that African leaders need to pick a leaf, even after the demise of our Pope. That lesson must continue to live. When the Pope visited us in Uganda, he used a small car. And incidentally, I didn't see escorts. I didn't see escorts. But it was a lesson that God provides the security. I wish we could pick a leaf from that.
I'm offering you to go to the Vatican in the next session. And
Thank you very much, Right Honorable
Speaker. Security in the Vatican. Yes. In the next travel to the Vatican, I'll go with the doctor. Yes. Yes, Gonzaga.
Madam Speaker, also support the motion. Madam Speaker, in the Catholic faith, when a Pope dies, everywhere in the Catholic parishes, bells are rung everywhere. When a new Pope has been announced, it's the same action. And our prayers to you, Madam Prime Minister and the members, is the message of reconciliation that the Pope was promoting. The moment you do that, you are in the hearts of the Pope. That's why the Pope, we don't say may his soul rest in peace. We say may he be canonized as a saint. Roma locuta causa finita. What the Pope says, nobody else should ask. So we pray for reconciliation. The moment we achieve that, all the actions he carried out were basing us, training us, teaching us the message of reconciliation. Can you reconcile? Can you reconcile? And you with the rosary, you and I, let us promote reconciliation on both sides. We shall have promoted the message of the Pope.
Thank you. Christine, Francis, Silas, Thomas.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, and giving us chance to recognize the works of the Pope. Right Honorable Speaker, the Pope loved the environment so much. And when he came up with the document called Laudato Si, very many countries, since June 18th June 2015, very many countries have been following up with the documentation to actually develop their laws to govern the management of the environments. Right Honorable Speaker, the Pope reminded us that whether you have money, there had been research that there could be some planets where humans can settle. But from whatever the Pope analyzed, he re-echoed it that all of us, our common home is the earth. Whether they had come up with research that there could be certain planets that could host human beings, he re-echoed it that this is the common place for us. And in that document, it had 7 principles. But he reminded us that the earth also cries. And he called on political leaders to mind about the earth's cries. And also the cries of the poor. Right Honorable Speaker, within the 7 principles of Laudato Si, he reminded us to build the resilience and empowerment of our people. And very many countries that have gone on the directions of the Pope have actually come up with mechanisms to reduce on their emissions, the greenhouse emissions. And in the 10 years, some of the countries can show that after the reference to the Laudato
Francis. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I also support the motion. Right Honourable Speaker, from the teachings of the Pope, he was pro-life, pro-people, and pro-poor. I remember his famous quote, that life is good when you're happy, but life is better when you make other people happy. And for me, that was touching. Right Honourable Speaker, I am also one of the people who have met the Pope many times. But when I got close to him, I would want to tell him that I'm also called Francis. So when I said I am Francis from Uganda, he said, how is the land of the matters? How is the land of the matters? And from then, I started walking to Namugongo. Because I saw how emotional he was talking about the Uganda matters. And of course, every day I walk. But let me tell you, members, there is power in Uganda matters. And those of you who go to Namugongo, even if you walk from here, walk from your home, or just drive there, you see the power of the Uganda matters. Finally, let's not just talk about how he loved Uganda or how good he was. Let's go and live in his footsteps. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Silence, and may he continue to intercede for us.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity. First, I would love to convey special condolences to you because the Pope was your special friend. That one everybody in Uganda knows. And really, I know how you feel and how you miss your dear friend. Right Honourable Speaker, for the years that I've been in the Parliament, I have developed a very big connection to the Catholic Church, much as I'm from the Anglican background. These days, I even understand special terms, special words in the Catholic system. For instance, synod and synodality. Right Honourable Speaker, when we talk about synod, some people may not understand, but it means the gathering of bishops and other stakeholders to discuss matters that affect the church. And the bishop that we are talking about was not a dictator. He is a man who managed to put bishops together and stakeholders of the church together to discuss special matters. And you know, when we talk about synodality, it means the process of working together, listening to each other, discerning the will of God, but not taking upon the will of man. And that is what the Pope was known for. He's a man that will be lived. We shall remember him forever, forever, and forever again. He was a great man. He loved Africa. He loved the world. And I guess if he came back, if he had not passed on, he would have touched my hand as well. The Pope was true Ugandan, based in Italy. May God rest his soul. in eternal peace.
Thank you. Thank you. Catherine, Mrs. Angola, Thomas.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, allow me to add my voice by thanking our Prime Minister for tabling this motion to pay respect to our dear Pope, who is in heaven already. Right Honourable Speaker, I think the man of God might have reshaped the image of Pope leadership, making it less about power, but more about being a shepherd who walks with the flock he's looking after. Right Honourable Speaker, his personal conduct was unmatched. You can imagine he used to carry his own briefcase. He used to carry it himself. I remember seeing him carrying it. What a kind of person would you want to see in Pope Francis? Right Honourable Speaker, his language of humility would hit you down as a believer. Right Honourable Speaker, he frequently referred himself as a sinner in need of God's mercy. What about us Christians? Let us learn and follow the teachings of Pope Francis, and let us preach unity and love to one another. I thank you so much.
Thank you. Betty? Thomas?
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I am a Christian, or Catholic Christian from Lira Diocese. This is what I can say about Pope Francis. He was our head of the Catholic Church in the world. He was a public figure and a world figure, Right Honourable Speaker. What I remember about Pope Francis is that he was always concerned about the poor, about refugees, about climate change. He was always concerned about Catholic projects in the world, which is a very important thing, Right Honourable Speaker. Now, the Pope, as I remember him, and it is very, very important that we speak about him today, we pay this tribute, because he visited Uganda. I remember where he stayed, in Mbuya. As a Catholic, would line up there in the evenings when he gets back to his residence. Would, wave to him. We smile to him. So this tribute is very important, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the Pope, when he spoke to leaders, he urged them to work very hard.
Thank you. Thomas?
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity. Right Honourable Speaker, as an ex-seminarian, and on behalf of all the ex-seminarians who are here, we are more than 20 here. We have the likes of Musa Sizi, Honourable, Tinkansimire,
make your presentation.
and so on.
Don't.
On their behalf, and on behalf of the people of Moyo District, I would like to condole with the people of the world. That's the Catholic Church, all the Christians, non-Christians, everybody, for the demise of the Pontiff. We are here to celebrate his legacy and life as a selfless person who fought hard for peace, unity, development, who fought hard for humanity. He fought for harmony, dialogue, democracy, and encouraged consensus when there are other contentious issues related to leadership and governance in the world. And I really vividly remember him for his Latin words like labor non verbe, work not words. Ad futuro edificamus, we build for the future. Si insti et inste, cur non ego, if others can, why not I? Very good. So please, I remember him for that. And lastly, his sayings about the timing. Tempus est pecunia, time is money. So we have to work hard and catch up with the time. And lastly, Madam Speaker, I would like to congratulate the Catholic Fraternity for electing a new Pope in the names of Pope Leo the 14th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Faith.
Right Honorable Speaker, I also join colleagues to condole with the entire Catholic community globally upon the passing of Pope Francis. As they have already mentioned, his humility stood out. I want to testify that in the manner in which Pope Francis carried himself, he made the Catholic Church more admirable. There are people who had stopped praying but resumed in the reign of Pope Francis. The numbers grew. If the statisticians know, they can compute better. There are people in my community who got received in this season in the Catholic faith because of the manner, the humility was excessive. If the statisticians knew how to count, they would already tell us that the numbers of the Catholics in Uganda have increased, not just because people are producing, but because the Catholic faith is more admirable in this time. It's a lesson that we carry on. The other thing I admire about the life of Pope Francis was a time when he took to give an apology to the indigenous Canadians on behalf of the atrocities of the past, of colonial atrocities that happened in the schools. For a person of a pope to even apologize, it's not easy. It's a lesson that we will carry on as leaders, that even for the crimes that have been committed by those who came before us, by the people, we should be able to take responsibility. It helps the country, it helps the world to heal. So the life of Pope Francis is lessons for us who are still living. I pray that we get a little portion of his humility and how.
Thank you, Sam. Sam, Honorable Oda, and finally.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. Madam Speaker, I want to appreciate Madam Prime Minister for this motion. The life of the late Pontiff was a remarkable one, that we who are his followers, I picked one thing, Madam Speaker. When my Bishop of Little Diocese returned from the Vatican, I thought he had brought something very special. So I visited him. And he told us, Pope Francis requested that we should pray for him. And I thought we needed him to pray for us. And I asked myself many questions. Madam Speaker, the spirit and the humility in the person of the Pope was a good lesson that all of us should look at and follow. May his soul rest in peace.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Onda. Whenever you ask Pope Francis to pray for you, he would equally tell you, pray for me too.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. I want to thank Right Honorable Prime Minister for the motion, and I have supported this motion. Right Honorable Speaker, Pope Francis is known for his humility, accessibility, compassionate leadership style. He is also recognized for his strong communication skills and his commitment to social justice and environmental stewardship leadership that he offered to the world. Right Honorable Speaker, Pope Francis showed a gesture
of interfaith dialogue, and he demonstrated it by visiting many mosques. He was in Qatar, he went to Abu Dhabi, he was in Indonesia, and whenever he goes and he enters the church, the mosque, and he joins the Muslims and pray together. There's a lot that we can learn from that. Right Honorable Speaker, really, we are all one people before God. Therefore, whichever the house of God you go to, Pope Francis showed us that we all believed in one God. Thank you.
Thank you, and that can be witnessed on the day of his burial. All the other religions were given to pray for his soul. Mama Mavenjina.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I want to thank God that I've been able to come to Parliament today when there is very important order paper about paying the tribute to the late Pope Francis. I thank the Right Honorable Prime Minister for bringing the motion, and I want to strongly support it. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues, we will all agree that Pope Francis was very, very unique in all his ways. In 2016, when the late Pope Francis came to Uganda, there was a very, very heavy rain before he prayed for us in Namugongo. And I remember we walked through and through the rain up to Namugongo, and we had to spend the night there in the water in order to attend his prayer the following day. And so, Right Honorable Prime Minister, Right Honorable Speaker, I didn't have the opportunity of meeting him many times like other colleagues, but I want to say how happy I am that in 2021, just before COVID-19 came, I was one of the people who was nominated to go to Rome to go and meet Pope Francis, because we were going as the Life Ascending International, and also in Uganda here we have Life Ascending Uganda. And this is an association of the older persons. And so I want to thank my Diocese of Nebi for supporting me and giving me.
Alebtong, Sarah.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to join my colleagues in paying tribute to His Holiness the late Pope Francis for the great things and the great lessons that we have learned from him. From him, we've learned the values of universal love and courage. Specifically, Right Honorable Speaker, what touched me most was that act of humility when he knelt down and kissed the feet of President Salva Kiir and the leader of opposition. And I think as a leader and also as leaders, we pick a great lesson of great humility from a great man that has been honored by the whole world. And I pray that his memory should help us to know and to have concrete actions and taking lessons of peace and reconciliation from this great man of God. And I'd like therefore to thank the Catholic fraternity for electing the new Pope, Pope Leo XIV, and we pray that may the legacy of Pope Francis continue to live forever in our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Sarah.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
There's a motion.
Right Honorable Speaker. No.
There's a motion by Santa.
But let's me complete. Can I complete? Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I want to thank you for dedicating time to discuss this very important subject matter of our dear Pope, whom I was privileged to meet physically twice in the Vatican. I will speak about two things. One that has not been spoken about, Right Honourable Speaker. When we met him, he told us to desist and ensure that we preach peace. War, he detested war, Right Honourable Speaker. And I want to quote, because I still have his speech that he made to us when we visited him. He said, as legislators, we must know that war is a failure of politics and of humanity, and a shameful capitulation, a stinging defeat before the forces of civil. He actually told us, Right Honourable Speaker, that the only war that we must fight is war against evil. And if corruption is evil, let us fight it. If homosexuality is evil, let us fight it. If we feel anything is evil, let us fight it. Secondly, Right Honourable Speaker, this gallant son also, Right Honourable Speaker, recognized the women. The leadership of women was one thing that he did recognize, and I want to state, Right Honourable Speaker, that he actually appointed Sister Simona Brambilla, a nun, as the first woman prefect of the Vatican, overseeing religious orders. Right Honourable Speaker, other notable women that he appointed, in the interest of time, was Sister Natalie Baquet as Under-Secretary of the Synod of Bishops. He also, Right Honourable Speaker, appointed Sister Rafaela Pretina as the President of the Pontifical Commission, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you.
Can I conclude?
Right
Honourable Speaker.
Pope was a man of everybody, for children, for the poor, for the church, and we are happy that he now recognizes the women in top leadership of the Catholic Church. And you will always remember him for his humility, the simplicity, and love for humanity. He was a peacemaker. He served with all the dignity, and he will leave the precious legacy. And he declared 2025 as a year of jubilee, and let's remain positive in everything that we do. Yes, there's a motion.
Thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, everything good has been mentioned about the late Pope Francis. I now move that we close the debate. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you. Thank you. Seconded. Seconded by Militon, Aisha, Nyamutoro, by the mover, the Prime Minister, by Finance. Honourable members, I now put a question that the House pays growing tribute to His Holiness, the late Pope Francis, the Supreme Pontiff of the Catholic Church and the Sovereign of the State of the Vatican City, for his selfless and dedicated service to the Catholic Church and to humanity in the world. Those in favor say, and the contrary, nay. Aye. The ayes have it. I will now instruct the clerk to extract the resolution and transmit it to the church, to the Pope Nuncio, the Papal Nuncio of Uganda. That will be transmitted thereafter to the Vatican. We want to thank you, Pope Nuncio, so much with your team for coming over to Parliament of Uganda. And as Parliament of Uganda, we will dearly miss Pope Francis, but at the same time we are consoled that we have the new Pope. Yes, Prime Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable members, I want to thank you for having supported my motion. However, I feel it necessary that I also give a congratulatory message to His Holiness Pope Leo the 14th. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, on behalf of the government of Uganda, I would like to congratulate His Holiness Pope Leo XIV upon becoming the new Supreme Pontiff of the Catholic Church and Sovereign of the Vatican City. Pope Leo XIV, over the years, has been a leader in various positions in the church. He has always been promoting love, harmony, and humility, among other things. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, indeed, the new Holy Father has begun his purpose with a message of peace, which is a fundamental aspiration for the government of Uganda, led by His Excellency General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Following the Pope's call, may the true peace and friendship prevail in our country for God and my country.
Thank you. Thank you so much, honorable members, for paying tribute. Next item.
Item 5 on the order paper.
Next item.
Laying of papers. Item 5.
Let's first lay the papers, then you come with your procedures.
5.1. The Gazette published by the East African Community Secretariat, Volume 1, Number 13, dated 17th May 2024, on the decisions and orders of the 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, and 22nd extraordinary summits of the East African Community Heads of State.
Honorable Minister, Prime Minister. Next.
Item 5.2, the Mineral Production Sharing Agreement for Kilembe Mines.
Honorable Members, Section 28(5) of the Mining and Minerals Act 2022 requires the Minister to lay before Parliament a mineral agreement signed and adopted by government within 60 days of the date of signing of this agreement. I now want to invite the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development to table the agreement.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I beg to lay the Mineral Production Sharing Agreement dated 3rd March 2025 between Government of Uganda, represented by the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, and Sarai Group Limited, Nile Fire Board Limited, and the Uganda National Mining Company for the exploration, development, production, and processing of minerals in Kilembe mines. I beg to lay.
Thank you, honorable members. The agreement is for information. It will be deposited in the Parliamentary Library for its reference by all the interested members. If you want, you can go and look at it.
Item 5.3, the corrigenda to the draft budget estimates for the financial year 2025-26.
Honorable Minister.
the Ubuntu. I am you, you are me. In Africa, we eat from the same plate, and that is what he discovered. And he said one of the things that must be manifest in conquering Africa is to dismantle its leadership and governance, change it completely. And that is why, Madam Chair, Africa, during the conquest, most of our chiefs were murdered, destabilized our social leadership. This was such as an impact of that Berlin conference. It then affected our politics and affected our economies. Finally, Madam Chair, the impact of Berlin conference is that it ushered in an heightened colonial activity and exploitation, leading to social and economic disruption and created dependency on European leadership. I'm not criticizing and I'm not against anything, but I'm describing how